What's going on today, Internet? Selfish here with Retrospect. Today we're going to take a look at the new Mangmi Pocket Air Max, a handheld that's offering some features we're really not seeing in this price range, or really anywhere else for that matter. But are they worth it, or are they just gimmicks? That's what we're here to find out. Let's take a look. We'll start off with an unboxing here real quick, and packaging goes a long way in this industry. You really often can tell a book by its cover, so to speak. And usually the better the package, the better the device, because the cheaper devices aren't going to spend the money on the packaging. First off, we do have some extra buttons, which we will get into this while we go through the review. But if you order right away, they do actually send you an extra set of buttons. I don't know how long that's lasting, but at the time of filming anyways, you do get these for free. Otherwise, I believe they are $10. And again, we'll get into this as we go through the review. I also did get a glass screen protector. I mean, even this comes in a really significant package. In comparison to what most do, they usually just send you a loose screen cover. And Mangmi took the time to make their packaging look right. This really truly has all the buying signals of an ANEO device, and you're going to see that more as we get into it. There have been rumors since this company started that they are part of ANEO. I know some of the staff from ANEO went to this company, and that may be just them using their design cues from their time at ANEO in order to put it into these devices, or maybe there is some relationship there that we are unaware of. But here is the device box, and the box, again, even just like the tempered screen cover, looks very similar. And it does have some really nice and clean lines to it. So we're going to open this up here real quick. And as you can see, the buttons do come out. It does show it on the box. We're going to put this cover off to the side. Now we do have this nice little plate. Now these are typically just going to be a plate with all the features on the back side, but this is actually the foam plate that holds the device in. We'll move that out of the way and take the device itself out. Another thing we do have here is an internal thing that comes out of here. We do have a little pamphlet. This is our origami accordion, and this is one of the nicer origami accordions I have seen in a long time. It is very well put together, both in English and in Mandarin, depending on which side that you want to be on and which language you can read. But this does actually have what's typically on the back side of that faceplate when you open these devices up. They did a very good job in here. It goes through the specs and everything else. Now, there's not any spec options, so they're going to be the same, which does definitely make this a little bit better. We also do have a card telling us that it did pass inspection, which is great to see. And then lastly, we actually get a C2C cable in this device, which is awesome. Make data transfers faster, and it is nice to see C2C, which we very rarely ever see. There is always a question on, we get these A to C cables. Will it work on C2C with some devices, especially less expensive ones? And that is definitely out of the question here when it comes to the Mangmi Pocket Max. I'm going to put all this stuff away, and we will take a look at the device. The Mangmi Pocket Max is shaping up to be a great little handheld. This little handheld will play PS2, GameCube, even like some mediocre Switch emulation, to be honest with you, as well as some Dreamcast, and even some Sega Saturn, which is a hard system to emulate. Today, we're probably going to focus mostly on PS2 and GameCube, and we'll maybe look at a little bit of 16:9 too with some PSP. But a couple of standout features here are going to be the ability to be able to use Game Hub and Game Native in order to play a spectrum of Steam games on this handheld on the go, as well as some game streaming through things like Xbox Cloud Gaming or straight from PC using programs like Artemis. This little handheld can do pretty much everything that you would expect it to do, or at least anything that anybody who had a Retroid Pocket 5 would expect their handheld to do, because this is sporting the same SoC. So if you're familiar with that device and all the cool things that it did, you'll also see this SoC in the Retroid Pocket Flip, as well as the Retroid Pocket Mini. It has been a workhorse, and the community has made significant improvements to the graphics drivers for this device in order to make sure that it can do the most that it possibly can do. We're squeezing more energy out of it every day, so even what you get today may not be the same tomorrow, but it is a good jumping off point. And even if we just stop where we are today, this thing does a very good job. And with that, I think we'll go through the specs of the device, probably go through the I/O like we always do. So we will start at the top here. We do have our shoulder and trigger buttons. We also do have our volume up and down and power button. So power, volume up and down. I do wish these were spaced out. I tend to try to change the volume and will hit power on occasion. We also do have exhaust holes here for our internal cooling. On the back, we got some chrome Cadillac lines right here. I have not seen that on a handheld that I can remember anyways. Kind of a neat little touch. We do have our intake here, obviously, for our active cooling, and then we do have our M1 and M2 buttons, along with the cover for our micro SD, and we'll get into that here in just a second, because there is nothing on the left or the right, but when we get down to the bottom here, we do have a micro SD hole, and this hole here is covered up by this little SD hole cover, manhole cover thing. We do have a 3.5 hole for using your headphones. And then we do have a Type-C hole, which will be used with that C-to-C cable we looked at earlier. On the front here, we do have TMR joysticks, which is great, and they are a bigger size than we're used to seeing on some of these devices. They also do have these slip rings around the inside there. They do not disconnect, though, unfortunately, but if you look in here closely enough, you can see there is a slip ring to go around the outside. That way, if there's any burrs or anything like that, it can burn right through them, as well as the slip ring and LCDs around the joysticks themselves. We do have our face buttons. Now, this particular set is membrane based. We also do have some micro switches we'll take a look at here in just a second. And we do have our D-pad, also membrane based, and it does work pretty well. Both the switches and the D-pad work pretty well. We do have some good travel here. Bounces back really quick. Our D-pad is also not getting buried underneath the shell or anything like that, and it does move just fine. I just got fingerprints all over this. On top of that, we do have our back button, home button here on the left-hand side, and we do have start and select on the right, or our menu buttons on the right, depending on which generation you are from. And then we do have, as I said, and we'll go over this a little bit more, we do have removable D-pad and face buttons on this particular device, and they are pretty easy to pull out and put new ones in, as long as you don't screw it up and put them in backward. But it's actually got a trick, and I can show you that when we get into it. With the Pocket Max, we are getting that 7-inch AMOLED 144-inch display, as I discussed earlier. It is also running Android 13, which is probably where I should have started, but the resolution on here going back to the screen is 1920 by 1080, or 16 by 9. It does have a Snapdragon 865 processor with an Adreno 650 GPU, running on 8 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of internal USF 3.1 storage. Its sticks are TMR, and the triggers here are going to be Hall effect. It does have Wi-Fi 6, which makes it great for streaming, and Bluetooth 5.1, which works great for headphones and your controllers. It does have dual speakers located right here and here, which I did forget to go through when we were going through the I/O of the device. It also does support a micro SD, Type-C, and a 3.5 jack, which are all located in one spot right here on the bottom. The battery on here is 8,000 milliamp hours, and it does support up to 2 terabytes on that micro SD card. So I'm going to try not to miss any of the things that people ask me to take a look at. Streaming performance, how do I feel about the price tag, screen size and quality, D-pad and swapping the D-pad and the face buttons out, and is it worth it? Which we're going to go through all those things definitely for sure. Build quality, and in comparison to the Air X, which if you look at my channel, I actually never made my video on the Air X. I have some differing opinions on it than most of the community. Not why I didn't make the video, I just happened to be sick when I got the device, and I have had so many things coming in that I just haven't had a chance to go back and do a video on it. I did carry it around for about a week though. Good device, just haven't got to it yet. But we can definitely touch on the overall build quality in the comparison. And Retro Lever left us a message on here saying that he'd like to learn if it knows what the fox say. Mangmi Pocket Max, do you know what the fox say? There's your answer. Now, there are some really cool features on the Mangmi Pocket Max, which we are hopefully from here on forward, we're going to call the Pocket Max. I'm sure I'll go back and forth. But they do have this game launcher that is built in. And unlike what you would see with Anbernic or A&E or anything, actually, this is probably most similar to the Anbernic one, I believe. But all I did was open it, and it scrubbed through my entire device and my memory card, found all of the games, and put them into folders in less than probably 2 or 3 minutes. I didn't have to do anything, and it said, "Oh, this is what it looks like." It already has a front end here for you if you want to use the front end. I'm not personally one much to use front ends anymore, and if I do, I tend to bounce around between like Beacon or Console Launcher, maybe Console Launcher more often. I kind of shied away from ESDE just because it's so tedious to set up if you have multiple devices. I know you can save some of the settings, they never work the same. And when it comes to A&EO, I just completely discard whatever the heck it is that they're trying to do because it never works for me. This thing works just out of the box. It literally just scrubbed it, and here we are. It's really cool. Like, you can go in, you can see your games. Now, it does have a spot for artwork. There is no artwork on any of these, and so I'm going to have to figure that out because there's no way to actually scrub for artwork in the options here either. Now, we can set up favorites and stuff like that, but we don't have any way to scrub for the actual artwork itself. So hopefully I'll be able to figure that out here pretty soon. There just isn't an option down here. But again, if you want to scan for games, I'll show you exactly how fast this thing was. So, well, maybe not the whole, yeah, this is about how fast it was, actually. Yeah, and then it just made this, yeah, that's what it did. I said 3 minutes. I guess I should have said 3 seconds. I don't know. But then everything was just here, and I didn't have to do anything else. There is an option now, too, with like Game Native and Game Hub where you can make it so you can access your games through something like this, too. You just have to create a folder folder for this system to be able to find those games in, and you do have that option. So this works good. And it doesn't take over my device. If I hit home, I can actually go back to my home screen. So it doesn't actually have to take over my device, though you can activate it from up here. If you want to keep it in this as your desktop, then you just activate this as your desktop. Then when you hit home, that's where to go. But we can turn this off without having to go in the home settings on the device itself and switch what your default is, which is really nice. Another really cool thing with their software that they have here is they do have this sidebar. In this sidebar, you can make all your changes. I wish you had better access just to slide this in and out, but in here you have access to make all your changes. So right now we can run up to 144 FPS because we are running at 144 Hertz. We can change our fan speeds or turn it off. Any of that kind of stuff can be done in here. Here you can change your performance modes. You even have a streaming mode, which is kind of neat. And as you can see, my fan is kicking on the smart fan, so it needs to cool down a little bit. But on power saving, I've got power saving, it's off. On balanced, it pops up. Oops, I didn't mean to close it. And you can also change your FPS rates on here. So if you want to FPS limit your games, 60 is the lowest though you can do. You can't do a 30 or a 45, but you can do a 60. And then this performance overlay you can see in my top here I've been using. And you can move that around too. So if you want to put this, you just have to kind of hold on to it for a second. And then say I wanted it down here or wherever, you can move this thing around. So you do have the option to do that as well. I do not know what I just opened. So all those things are in our sidebar. And then we also do have controller options, so we can change your layout too. You can go to a switch style layout up here if you'd like to. Now, one thing I think we're gonna find out with the buttons is I believe they stay in the same order as they are in now, but they become micro switches, so better for playing first person shooters and things like that. For some people, everybody has a different preference. You can do your turbo, all that kind of stuff through here. Also change your ambient lighting, or you can turn it off if you don't like ambient lighting. Constant bright, I can't remember. One of these just only goes orange after a while. It starts off with color, but then it goes orange. I don't know. I just have it on breathe. And then down here you do have a settings area too, which you can get in your settings screens, which is just your regular handheld settings, clear memory. Do your recording if you want to record while you are playing a game. You can do that from right here, which I am going to attempt to record a different way. I actually do have a new capture device that does not require a computer, so hopefully I'll have a chance to take a look at that in this video, kind of show you what that thing does too. It's pretty freaking cool, as long as it works the way I think it's going to work. But we'll find that out here in a little bit. Let's take a look at these switches here real quick. Here's the box. So again, everything is packaged real nicely by Mangmi. And when I ordered this, these were free. That will change eventually. I believe they said these will be $10. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that was the price that they hadn't listed it yet, but that was the price that they were discussing at the time that I ordered this device. So we'll get these out of here. They package everything so tight. And here are our other switches. My understanding is these ones are on micro switches. Now, if you think you've seen this before, you kind of have. There is a device called the ANEO 3 that has these where you hit a button and they pop out. Now on here, this is not as expensive, nearly as expensive a device. And you're also not getting your sticks to come out, but this is giving you the option to at least change to a micro switch. So let's give you a taste of the difference between the two as far as audio goes. Ran away from me. So this is the one that comes in it. And this is the micro switch version. It's really hard to tell when you have it out of it. It feels so much different. Now, so if we were to switch these out, either one will work, but we do have the same pattern. Now there is a notch in here. So if you just pay attention where the notch is, it's going to be just fine. These are the stock ones. We look, same spot, notch. We just put it in there. Notch drops right in. As long as you do it with the notch, you're going to be just fine. We did see a couple people when they had pre-production units, which hopefully they fixed that by putting that notch in. They were able to get them in going other directions, but thanks to that notch, you're no longer able to do that. You can only drop it in the direction it goes in. I mean, that feels pretty good. The same is going to be here for the D-pad. Let's pull that one out. So that's the sound of it normally. Then we go to the micro switches. So if you want a micro switch style D-pad, just line those notches. I mean, they sound pretty good. I think because I play this in my bed a lot, because it streams well, I might, oh man, these ones don't have as deep of a thing on them. Oh yeah, they do. I'm missing it. Because I play in my bed a lot with this particular device, because I've been doing a lot of streaming with it, thanks to its 7-inch screen, I'll probably have to stick with the quieter ones just so I don't wake my wife up. I don't know. I might go back and forth during the day, though. I do really like how the stock switches feel. I kind of feel like they probably didn't need to do this, but they were looking for something to set themselves apart. This does have a lot of ANEO design cues. And again, that is one thing that was on the ANEO 3 was the ones that electronically popped out. And as I talk design cues in ANEO, we'll take a look here. This is ANEO's kind of one of their, I guess, their second to last device. This is the ANEO Pocket Air Mini. And if you look, I mean, it looks very similar. Now, ANEO does add a M button right here. So instead of having one down here, they actually add theirs right here. So this one here is actually going to be on the back. So kind of personal preference. I actually prefer them up top. But I've got a lot of ANEO devices I haven't reviewed this year, this one included. In fact, I think I haven't reviewed any of the last 3 or 4 ANEO devices I've gotten, just because they're so hard to get for everybody else. I feel like if I review it, you're never going to be able to get it anyway, so what's the point of giving you all the information? Maybe I'll just do a review with a bunch of them in it here at some point. But as you can see, they are very, very similar. Even like this notch kind of in here. This one's a little bit more pronounced, but both companies are using a similar notch in there. And then if you look at everything else, just the full body design is very similar. Here we have that same kind of setup on the bottom. Now the ANU is downward fired speakers, but that is also a design constraint of this particular device, just because there's no room on the front for the speakers. But everything else looks and feels very, very similar. So if there was ever a time when I questioned whether ANU was involved with the Mangmi production, this particular device, I know it's only device 2, this one here would be the one that I would have questioned it on. Now, we questioned the first one just because of the staff being over there, but honestly, the Mangmi Air X feels and looks more like the original Odin Pro, Odin 1 Pro. That's what that one reminds me of. Processor is very similar as well. Very good feeling device. It definitely feels premium, so it is getting its design cues from a boutique designer, and they are using similar parts in here because it does still feel, not just look, but feel like those ANEO devices. So that's going to definitely build some value to it. Okay, let's jump into some gameplay here real quick with the Mangmi Pocket Max, because I know somebody's going to look down there. It's going to be in my comment section. 16 minutes and we haven't even seen you play a game yet. I already know. It happens every time I do this. That's why I put chapters in the videos. But hey, let's check out some gameplay here real quick, and then we'll kind of give you a little wrap up here at the end. there is a customer for the Mangmi Pocket Max. Unfortunately, that customer probably isn't me. Even though this device was not provided to me and I did pick it up myself, I don't regret it a bit. So if you wanted some confusion going into the pros and cons, that's a little confusion for you. At $200, this would be better around 170 to 180-ish as far as price to performance goes. That would be priced just about right. Unfortunately, Mangmi is running into the same constraints that we're seeing with other retailers in this space as far as RAM and memory constraints go, and the prices of them being at record highs. The other thing they're running into right now, when it comes to competition, arguably the best 7-inch OLED displayed Android handheld is on sale right now for $250, $249 when they're selling the Pocket Max for $219.99. It's only a $30 difference to get the AYN Odin 2 Portal with its Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, a far superior processor and overall a superior handheld. But to be fair, AYN does have a lot more build experience underneath their belt than we're going to see here from Mangmi, as Mangmi's only on their second device. Now, when it comes to these two handhelds right here, I have a really hard time not telling you just to spend the extra $30 and picking up the Odin Portal. This is a fantastic handheld. It really doesn't make sense to me to get the Mangmi Pocket Max when this Odin Portal is so reachable at that point. Whether you have to wait an extra week or whatever, just wait and pick it up. As long as it's still on sale and they still have it in stock, because I have a feeling they're doing a sell-off right now. Now, keep in mind that the Portal is the last handheld still being sold in the Odin 2 lineup. They've already sold out of the Odin 2 minis and the original Odin 2. I still don't think, though, that that changes the scenario here for the Pocket Max, which is obviously not going to come into that $250 price, which would make the Mangmi a little bit more appealing, but it's still kind of overpriced for the market that it's sitting in. Sure, the interchangeable buttons are neat, but they're more of a gimmick. I think they'll possibly catch the attention of some potential buyers, but in practice, there really isn't much point to them. It probably would have made a little bit more sense had the micro switch D-pad been Xbox style, but even then, I don't think interchangeability would make or break this handheld. Pocket Max also has USB 3.1 Type-C, which I would think would allow for it to act as a display port or at least an HDMI out, but I wasn't able to get to work at all. At first I thought it was the new capture card I was planning to use for this video, but then I hooked up the RP6 and everything fired right up. I looked for a setting and didn't find anything. Wow, that fan is getting really loud. I don't know if you can hear that, but it is cranked. I looked for a setting and didn't find anything, and display out isn't currently listed in the features for this particular handheld, though it appears in the menus that it may have been disabled for some reason, because some of the menu items are still there for display out. Now, I've been getting around 2 hours of battery life with heavier switch and Game Hub emulation, which seems to be about right for this 8,000 milliamp battery. This would probably be better if there was a better optimized fan curve, but it sounds like a little jet. But even when kicking it on, it doesn't do a great job of cooling the handheld. Streaming through Game Pass, and as well as using Steam Link to play PC games through my gaming PC at home, really did a good job to cut down on that battery usage. And there actually is a streaming mode in the menu that you can use, which oddly enough immediately kicks on the fan when it's probably using the least amount of power out of anything else you can do on the handheld. They really did make some adjustments to that fan curve. But as far as streaming goes, this thing does a fantastic job with that. I'm very happy with it. With its Wi-Fi 6, and because we do have good internet in our house, it gets a solid connection. I didn't see any hiccups or stuttering with any of the streaming that I did in testing. Now, the fit and finish of the Mangmi Pocket Max is its shining star. The handheld truly looks and feels like a boutique device with a more budget-minded price tag. I think these chrome lines through here are very subtle, but a nice touch, and it adds to the overall classy experience of the entire handheld, and I am very happy with the way that it looks and feels. These TMR joysticks are a nice addition. They add the snappy response to the handheld and make FPS aiming even more enjoyable. They also have these friction rings in them, and these add to the overall smoothness during intense gameplay. I'm sure the sticks themselves are not actually pop-off removable like we're seeing on some of the other devices, because you don't often see that in TMR, not as often as you see it in others. But the sticks are complemented with these linear rear Hall effect triggers, which feel very nice. They got a low resistance and are very smooth to squeeze. Lastly, I think Mangmi made a smart play with the Pocket Max by supporting the Snapdragon 865 under the hood. I think it was a better play even than the half as much Pocket Air. This first Mangmi device, it just doesn't have the guts that I was hoping it was going to have. It reminds me a lot of the original Odin Pro. It was good at the time, but what was that, 3 or 4 years ago? This feels a lot like that when you play it. In fact, even the overall build is very similar, though the device is significantly smaller than the Odin 1 Pro. It still has that same kind of feel in your hands. And I'd say if the Odin 1 Pro came out today, it would probably be this size, as things have become more compact over here over the last couple of years. But that 865 is a good move in here. That SoC is really supported by the community. Thanks to Retro's Gen 5 lineup of devices, there has been a lot of work put into the drivers on here. You can not only emulate PS2 and GameCube, but you can also do lighter titles on more modern systems like Switch, or play your Steam backlog using things like GameHub or Game Native, which is pretty awesome. As it turns out though, the Mangmi Pocket Max is a remarkable device, even when you consider it is only the second device that they've brought to market, both of which are budget devices. The unfortunate thing, they're both in very competitive spaces right now. And that space is competitive all the way across the board from price to performance. And when taking into consideration the competition, it's really hard to recommend this device. I don't think maybe it's going to be able to sell this at their $239.99 asking price, even when AYN runs out of portal handhelds. There's just too many other handhelds to compete with it. But there's definitely a market for this. If you love your Retro Pocket 5 and aren't looking for the upgraded performance of the Retro Pocket 6, but are itching for a 7-inch AMOLED handheld, you have a winner right here. Not only will you be upgrading your display, but the build quality is pretty amazing and will feel premium in comparison to your current handheld. It really will. This definitely is a beautiful handheld with beautiful design cues. I just have a really hard time recommending it. It's too expensive. It was expensive at the $200 asking price for the pre-orders. Now it's at $219.99. And like I stated already, even when AYN finally sells out of the portal, there's just too much competition in this zone. If this is what you're looking for, this is great. It's a great streaming handheld. Again, it's great for anybody with an RP5 that just wants a bigger screen. And this does feel more quality than the RP5, which is absolutely amazing for a second generation device from this manufacturer. So there are a lot of good things going for it. I wouldn't get it for the button swapping, but I would get it for this display and its streaming capabilities. And that's what I've been doing a lot of with it. With respect to streaming, it puts it in direct competition with the G Cloud and also the Absolute One and Absolute One Pro. But that's all I got for you today. Hopefully you learned something about the Mangmi Pocket Max and are able to take that forward with you in helping you make decisions. If you've decided that you do want to get a Mangmi Pocket Max, there will be a link for it down in the description down below. That'll bring you right to their website. It'll also help support the channel. If you liked this video, please leave a like. It does help out the channel. Also give us a sub if you do like this kind of content and want to see some of this going forward, as well as firmware reviews, installation, and custom modifications whenever I can find time to do them. I would appreciate it also if you would share this video with your friends, because sharing is caring. It's also the fastest way that we grow this channel. And then once you're done with all that, there'll be a couple videos up here on the screen. If you like this, YouTube chose for you a couple other videos that are similar to this one. I know, it's weird. It happens at the end of every video that you watch on YouTube. But YouTube chose these for you, so you know you're going to like them. But that's all I got for today. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.